Three, two, one. All right, so I'm with Jason Pickar, aka Chosen. Um,
Yes.
and Jason is a very funny um, rapper and just all around interesting guy, brilliant ad wizard. I took advantage of his advertising skills many times. Um, I probably owe him thousands, but at any rate, he was like a colorful figure who bounced in and out of the Titans universe and saw the circus a little bit more from the outside. And so just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that stuff. And so anyway, so Jason, you're in Seattle, by the way, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Seattle now.
Okay.
Moved from LA a
Wow.
few
Okay.
years ago.
We're now national. No, we're actually international. I interviewed a Brit last week. So somebody in Britain.
Great.
Um, yeah. So anyway, so I forget, how did we meet? What, I think it was through Christina, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we met through Christina. My friend Ronen, who's a composer, met her at Sundance, and then I was at his birthday party. He introduced me and Christina. We got to talking. She was saying how they have this podcast, how you and she have this podcast, and invited me to come be a guest once, and then came back again, and I think again, and came to some parties and hung out at the pool at the Gaylord, performed at the Gaylord.
Yeah.
Just Radio Titans was a great time.
Yeah. So what do you think? Um, like, what do you think made us different than, because one thing that people are pointing out is that podcasting, at least then, and I don't think now, there's many, now you see occasionally one that gets so big it goes on tour, like Pod Save America does a tour, but I don't think anybody was ever, that I'm aware of, and that others seem to feel the same way, trying to stage live comedy shows and music shows and things that were completely beyond just podcasting. Any thoughts about that, since you're somebody who's savvy about culture and all that? I mean, do you think that was innovative, or was it
Yeah.
not as big a deal as I thought?
No,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, look, in the mid 2010s, podcasting was a very specific vertical when you're talking about media. And podcasting kind of just stuck to itself. It was people talking, you would be talking, and I was a guest on a number of podcasts, but when I came to Radio Titans, first of all, it felt more like something bigger than a podcast. You're in a studio and recording rather than just with your buddy who happens to have a mic and you're recording together. But even more than
Yeah.
that, radio was more than a podcast. I'll give you a clean one so that even more than that, Radio Titans was more than a podcast because it had all of these live shows, it had live comedy, it had live music. And that's not really something that people were really doing on podcasts at that time. And so, like something really, really special. It was this situation where, we had Carl as the leader and Christina and Adam and all of these great people who were comedians, were entertainers, are entertainers, excuse me. And so it was one of those situations where, the inmates were running the crazy house was the best place to be.
Yeah. Wow. Um, so, and any thoughts about, gosh, let me think. I mean, because I have pictures of you at videos of you performing. We're going to put these in the movie. Like, I think you performed at the final night in Hollywood because you were there for helping me move out, and you did a rap, and we have this great video of everybody just totally into what you were doing. And then at the pool, I've got a video of you also performing. But I guess I don't know. What you said was pretty perfect. But if you have any other thoughts or memories about uh, actually performing in the shows or whatever, that'd be cool.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I love performing in the radio shows just because, again, I was surrounded by these like minded people, and you would get crowds there. You would get people there. Like at the Gaylord Apartments outside the pool, you had bands, you had people partying. I'd go up, I'd rapper too. Clive Aiden would go, he would do some and blow me out of the water when I was jumping into the water. I mean, really, it was a very special collection of people and very talented people who were able to put something so great together. And so whether it was in Hollywood or Cape Town or downtown or wherever it was, Radio Titans felt so much bigger than the performance space we were in, because it was a mood, it was a moment, it was the feeling of just trying to get that entertainment out there with all of these people in LA who are all on that same level of just hustling and trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Um, and, I'm probably going to stick with what you already have been saying, because I'm like, wait, you make us sound like we were way bigger. But I mean,
That's the goal,
any
right?
thoughts about? Yeah, yeah. But I mean, any thoughts? Because the thing that was weird was looking back. Johnny O, who was one of my main partners downtown era, um, he's going through our archives now and organizing them. We're going to put them all back up on a new redesign. We redesigned the website, put everything that was any good, which is most of it, up on there. And he said there's like 10,000 hours of shows that we did between Grand Theft Audio, which was a show I did for 4 years before we started Radio Titans, and between the Radio Titans and that we have 10,000 hours worth of stuff that was made. And I'm just like, whoa, but yet at the same time, we're admitting throughout this movie that we weren't very savvy at how to do the social media, or how to do, like, we weren't good businessmen. We were just good at like knowing talent and like trying to put on the best art we could. But I mean,
I
ultimately,
got you on
we
that.
never really blew up the way that I think we should have. And we're hoping that things like this will help bring it back and we get another shot at it. But any thoughts about, being ahead of the game in so many ways, but still not clicking with the masses the way that some did,
Yeah.
who were doing a lot less than us?
I mean, yeah, it was such a weird combination because I was always so excited to go and do these Radio Titan shows. And I would spread the word on my social, but I'd be like
Yeah,
looking for your social post, or I'd be looking for the website or looking for anything. And really it wasn't really fully there because you were so
yeah,
invested in the audio aspect of it. You come from
yeah,
that radio side of things. So and I remember I would be like, hey, what if you did, what if you posted regularly on your social channels, what if you on Instagram, whatever it was. And it was always, oh, we're actually making the content, that there was no one to promote it. There was no one to advertise it. And these days, I mean, social media has come pretty far since then. So there are a lot of people who are much better at just that sort of self promotion. But Radio Titans, it wasn't fully there. So it was this really great experience, this wonderful entertaining thing that just didn't know how to get the audience that it deserved.
well, do you think what we're hoping now is that, because a lot of the stuff that was put out, we had tons of stars come through, and we also
Hmm.
were lucky to have lots of people who became stars. Like Melissa Villasenor was, like, I think Johnny's founder in a dozen different shows of ours, and of course this is before SNL. But she's just like one
Yep.
example. And one of my old partners, after I had a big fight with a guy before, well, no, you were there for the fight. That's when we moved out. Well, the guy I fought with, he ran his own thing for a couple months, and he had Pete Davidson among his guests. And I'm like, no way.
Hmm.
And then he shows me the picture. There's Pete Davidson, 2014 or 13, and it's like, holy crap, And but we're hoping that
Here, let
that
me
it isn't very.
let me
They weren't
speak to
very
that
time
real
bound or
quick.
newsbound shows. They were just funny or creative, and they had lots of people that people would want to know more of. And so we're hoping
Yeah.
that we still have something that could pop, and we're ready to invest in the right PR this time. But we're just hoping. Do you think that that this does have value still, or
Yeah. Yeah, one of the great things about the fact that you were the one running the show and getting people in is you're coming from comedy and journalism. So,
yeah,
being in that comedy, we're at those late night shows, you were getting the people who were just, rile up. And I remember like around the same time that she was on some of your shows, I was like, weird 11 p.m. Friday night shows on the East Side where it was Melissa Senior and Kyle Mooney and just all these random people who it's like, man, people are really funny and we should get them on. And then like years later, they're on SNL, they're in movies, they're all doing all sorts of things, and they're
yeah,
still funny from 5, 6, 7 years ago. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be popular or at least listened to now.
yeah? All right. Well, hey, I'm gonna hit pause, or unless there's anything else you want to bring up.
Let me think. Let me
What you
think.
said is great, but
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I'm trying to give you sense. I'm trying to think of how I fit
yeah,
in
no,
and
you're
edit
great.
for
Yeah, yeah,
you. Let me see. It was the collection of people that really made it special. You had Christina, you had Clive, you had these different perspectives, but everyone was really funny and everyone was coming in from an honest perspective. So when you brought comedians in, they weren't doing bits. They were sharing a bit of themselves. And that's not always what you get when you're talking about uh a comedian coming in and doing an interview. They'll give you a lot of the same answers over and over, but you were getting people who weren't the media trained, media beaten down comedians after their fame. You were getting people who wanted to participate. You were getting people who wanted to share, who wanted people to know who they were. And so you still have that aspect of it. You still have those moments and that evidence of who all of these great comedians were. Very specific time.
yeah. Okay. Well, cool.
Something like that. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was good. All right.